Now, I'm sure you can find videos on YouTube where they'll take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute to explain to you how to clear a misfire. And I hate it when people ramble on when I just want to know how to do something and how to do a particular task. But I just want to stress that I take my time because I don't want to just show you how to do something. I want to show you why you want to do something. And I want to show you multiple different ways of doing it. So that's why this video may be longer than what you might see on how to clear a misfire. Okay, if you're still on board with me, let's get started. So first thing is gun safety. I'm gonna lock the slide back. There's no magazine, and the chamber is clear. All right. So you're shooting, firearm, pressed out, bang, 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 and then you get a click. Well, how do we clear that? Well, first thing we got to do, particularly if we're at an indoor range or if we're at a range where there is an RSO or there is monitoring at the range, we want to hold the gun downrange for anywhere from 15 to 20 seconds. The reason that is because we are going to assume that we had a misfire, but that could become a hang fire. Now, what's the difference? Well, a misfire is where you press the trigger, you get a click, and nothing happens. It's a malfunction either in the round or the actual firearm. But there are some cases where you get that click, and because maybe the propellant in your shell casing is not working properly or doesn't ignite immediately, there could be a delay until the shot actually does go off. So you want to hold the gun downrange for about 15 to 20 seconds if you are at a range where you're being monitored specifically. You can hold it out here if you so choose, or come back to the compressed high ready position, and then you want to fix that problem, the misfire. Just be prepared after that 15 to 20 seconds to see if it's a hang fire, and be prepared in case it is a hang fire. At no point should the gun be pointing any other direction other than downrange. Well, that's the rule at all times, but in this case, we don't know a hang fire is a hang fire until it becomes a hang fire. Now, how do we fix this misfire? Well, there's a drill that was ingrained in me for the years I've been shooting, and that is tap, rack, bang. You may have heard of it. I am going to demonstrate with snap caps. You can verify that these are snap caps because of the bright color. We're back out shooting. Let's say we started shooting again. Bang, 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 click. What we want to do is come back to our compressed high ready. We're going to tap firmly the bottom of the magazine because we want to make sure that the magazine did not become unseated, and maybe there's a hang up in there. We want to make sure the magazine is properly seated. Then we're going to bring our support hand over the side of the gun, obviously not over the front of the gun, but we're going to place the left hand, well, my left hand, or your right hand if you're a left-handed shooter, on the rear of the slide, rack the slide back, get rid of that bad round. Then we're going to just get back out and start shooting again. Bang, bang, bang. So now I'm going to demonstrate with live fire, and I place a dummy round in my magazine to simulate a misfire, which is why I highly recommend buying snap caps and dummy rounds so you can train this kind of stuff when you go to the range. Click. Back to high ready. Tap. Rack. Get that bad round out. And back out on target. Now, I dispense with holding it down range for the 15 to 30 seconds just for time's sake, but if you're at an indoor range and the rules are pretty strict, there are a lot of ranges like that, and I understand that. You do want to adhere to that 15-second, 30-second rule when you have that alleged misfire. So one thing I want to talk about real quick is the position that you bring your firearm back in, and the conditions where you would possibly change condition, in my opinion. So if you're a basic pistol student, or again, you're on a controlled range, when you have that misfire, you want to hold it down range again, whether it's here or here. As long as it's pointing that way, You want to hold the gun out there for 15, 20, 30 seconds. If you, however, are not in a range, but you're out in the street and you are defending yourself to get home to your loved ones, I don't espouse coming back here. What I was trained was coming back to my workspace, but I'm going to angle the gun so that it goes in line with my wrist into my elbow, and my elbow is going to be touching my gut or my belly right here, making contact here. Why do I do this? This is how I train. Because when I am doing anything with my firearm, I want to be able to keep my eyes, my vision, maybe it's just peripherally, on the threat. So I want to bring my firearm to this position where, again, I'm tucked in. I'm not out here. I'm tucked in, and my hand is at the center of my body. If you are a martial artist and you are familiar with single block, it's the same position relatively. So I'm here, nose to muzzle to the danger or the threat. So what does this allow me to do? Well, it allows me to assess what's happening with the threat while I am working with my firearm, doing whatever I have to do with it. I can see the argument where one might say this is not going to work because if you're under stress, there's no way you're going to be able to, your brain's going to allow you to ascertain what's going on with that threat while you are trying to work with your gun as well and get it fixed. So you just had a malfunction, so your stress levels could increase. And how are you going to necessarily be able to be aware of the threat when you are just, when you're all, you yourself is just so stressed out? Are you going to be able to do that? Well, that's why I say repeatedly we have to train, 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 and the thinking is it will come out of us. Or what's the other option? If you have any malfunction, get your ass to cover. I train this with my students that are taking a permit class or a defensive pistol class. This is how I want them manipulating their firearm in their workspace. Again, if it's a basic pistol class, you're going to come back to here, at least in my classes that I teach. The basic pistol position is here. Combat or a permit, concealed carry course, here. Pressing the trigger, bang, 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 click. I'm coming to here, all right? Now, you notice I did not hold the gun down range for 15 to 20 seconds. You're not going to hold the gun down range or at the threat. Let's put it that way. You're not going to hold your gun at the threat for 15 to 20 seconds to see if it's a hang fire. You're just going to go for it because you got to get out of there before you get shot, wounded, injured, killed. So as soon as you get that click, come right back to high ready. Oh, first thing again, see if you can get to cover. Then you're going to come to high ready. You're going to tap the bottom of the magazine just like you did before. Then you're going to pivot the gun, and this is all within your workspace. You're going to bring your left hand over just like you did before, rack that bad round out, and my slide got locked back because that was my last round. So you're going to rack the slide back, and then because you were here, you're tracking the threat's motion, right? So when you come back and rack that out, you can determine immediately if it's appropriate to get back on target and fire again. Please ask the range owners or the range RSO, is it okay if I train tap, rack, bang like this when I bring it back to my workspace? Get their permission first, because what's the obvious issue? Well, I am theoretically pointing the gun in a direction that I should not be pointing it when I'm doing it this way. Out in the street, I don't really care about that. But at the range, you gotta take that into consideration. Get permission first. Now, at this range here that I happen to be at, this is an outdoor range where you are taking responsibility for all your actions. There's no one monitoring. The owners of the range built this range in the spirit of they want people to train for combat, train for self-defense, but there's still safety rules. You'll never see me point the gun in any other direction than downrange where my target is. But there's no problem training this here. That's why if you want to take my defensive pistol class, we're not going to the most convenient ranges because it's nearby. We're coming here where we can move around, do all types of things, and I'm going to have you come here when we have to fix our firearm. I come out, click, back, nose, muzzle, danger, tap, rack. I've been assessing, and he's still a threat, so I come right back out and take my next shot. Now, there are some schools of thought that believe rather than doing just tap, rack, and then coming back out and shooting again, they will come back here in this position, not this position, but this position, even under combat, or if they're trying to defend themselves. They teach tap, rack, and in some cases, roll the gun over so that you make sure that the bad round clears the ejection port, or clears the firearm. I don't train that. I just feel like it takes too much time. I've never had a problem with a round clearing the chamber. But if I have a left-handed shooter, this is just my thinking, all right? Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. But if you have to come back, and I'm teaching you this is not a big, let's assume it's not a basic pistol class, and I'm teaching you this. So you're gonna tap with your right hand, you're gonna pivot the gun, rack it back with your right hand, but because you're going against gravity, as opposed to from this position, the ejection port is still facing that way. I could see possibly having to roll it over like this because of this configuration, this lean to the left, which goes against gravity. But I still say just tap, rack. Well, I didn't have any rounds in there, but tap, rack, and let the slide fly back forward, assess, and get back on target. The other reason I don't train this position when I come back to my workspace is because I tend to think that under that stress, if you do it this way, you're going to tend to look down. You're going to tend to look down to make sure that you're tapping the magazine, you're racking, your hands going where it belongs, and before you come out. Whereas this way, you're kind of seeing that throughout the whole encompassing of your vision. Now, you're going to get tunnel vision, but that's why we bring it back to this position. I can see everything in this scope right here. I feel the grip. I'm going to use the term haptically because it's tactile. I know where my hand's going because I can feel it in this hand. So I tap the back of the magazine, and I can still see pretty much everything when I pivot the gun and rack the slide. There's no need, with training, for me to have to look down. But if I put the gun down here, I just feel like psychologically I'm going to want to look down. So those are the three different methods that I've been trained, or I've been shown how to clear a misfire. And I want to emphasize again, if you are simply training this and you're at a range where you don't know the rules of the range, or you don't know their protocol, or you're being monitored, if you have a misfire, hold the gun downrange for 15 to 30 seconds to make sure that it does not turn into a hang fire. Outside of that, here are the three methods once again. We went through two different positions in compressed high ready, here and here. And we went through three different methods of clearing the misfire out of your chamber. Clearing it from here, clearing it from here, and clearing it from here and incorporating a roll. Or if you're left-handed, clearing it from here, which I prefer, and incorporating that roll from this position. I am not in a position to tell you which one of those methods you should use, or there could be other methods that you've been trained. But what I will say is I showed you what I prefer. Now you got to go out and train with your firearm and come up with what works for you. And be consistent. That is the most important thing. All right, everyone, that's all I got today. Thanks so much. I will see you again soon.